Okay.
Meeting is being recorded.
Okay, we'll call to order the Minturn Town Council meeting of March 4th, 2026. Roll call, please.
Brian here. Oh, it's on. Yeah, Brian here.
Ben here.
Dusty here.
Eric here. And Earl's here. And Kate will not be in this morning, not this evening. Okay. We'd all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands. Okay, so we have the next item is approval of the consent agenda. If anyone if no one wants to pull anything, we'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Motion by Gusty, second by Eric. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Next is approval of the regular agenda. Do we have any amendments? No. Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the regular agenda.
I'll second that.
Motion by Eric, second by Gusty. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, next is there anyone on the board that has any conflict of interest on any item on the agenda this evening? Okay, hearing none, move on. Next item is public comment, where citizens can address the board on any issue that they're concerned about, with the exception of items that are already on the agenda. Let's see, who's up there? Cindy up there?
Yeah.
Cindy, anybody online?
No one with their hand raised.
Okay. Next, we have council and committee reports.
I don't have it.
Got anything?
No.
So the Wildlands Department within the Eagle River Fire Protection Division is coming up with some new and very exciting equipment, which could make a huge difference in fire prevention in the county. And it consists of sensors that are placed in the forest, and lots of sensors. And they can give you 45 minutes advance notice before the fire really becomes a fire. And that's really crucial. They can also activate the drones that can go in there and put the fire out immediately. And some of the communities are, such as Cordillera, are putting hundreds of thousands of dollars into setting up a system like this. But the goal is that we should have it countywide. And it seems like, I don't know if Minturn can get a grant or something like that, but it could make a huge difference to our community, particularly with the summer coming up.
That is impressive. Yeah, that could be a game changer, huh?
It's a game changer, that's right. But it costs hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Thank you, Lynn. All right, and moving on to staff reports.
First, we have our new planning intern here. I'll have her introduce herself. Can you just turn on that, Jen?
Awesome. Thank you all for letting me be here tonight. My name is Jessica Copeland. As Rob said, I'm the new planning intern. I've been living in the Valley since 2023, working as a guide and outdoor educator, and now I'm hoping to pursue a career as an urban and environmental planner. I'm planning on going to grad school this fall, and the town of Minturn has kindly offered to let me learn from them and work with them until August. So I'll be around, and I look forward to meeting all of you. Thank you.
Awesome. That's great.
Welcome aboard.
Yes. Welcome to our community.
Just hopefully going to just give us some extra capacity on some of these key projects that we have going, that land use code update. on housing, and maybe some of the decisions, that or direction you're providing today. So that's why I brought her along. Any questions for staff or concerns that need to be raised from the report or anything that we need to look at or follow up on?
The Taylor Street repay, I was running around down there today. Something popped into my head while we're doing that, working in the area of the parcel that was given to the town as part of the Minturn North development. I was in Miller Ranch last week, and in one of their little areas, green spaces, they like have just sand and some boulders, and like kids in the neighborhood have just taken over with little toy trucks and things like that. Could we do like a trial like test park over there instead of just having it sit fallow all summer? I know we're gonna like pave and be doing some construction stuff in the area. We don't want to do anything permanent in the area, but it seems like something that we could do for extremely cheap, and all the kids in the neighborhood would be pretty excited, given we don't have any playgrounds. I don't know. It was just something that popped in my head as I was running past there today.
Thank you, Brian.
Any comments on that from council? No? Okay. Anything else?
Well, you might bring up the Bellum Bridge replacement news as far as Rob and I presented.
Oh, yeah. We have it on the agenda.
Is it?
Yeah.
Thank you. We'll talk about it.
Okay. Well, nothing else from staff then.
Nope.
First Friday's tomorrow, Cindy, at the wine cellar.
Friday, sorry, yes, Friday at the Wild Mountain Cellars and Gelsey Art Gallery.
Awesome. So hopefully we'll see you then. You're available.
Okay. Okay, if there's nothing else, any more questions for Rob?
Great report as always.
Yeah, and in the attachment online, you'll see we submitted the AARP grant, and that's the attachment I submitted with it. I just put it there so you could see it.
I love the conceptual pictures there.
Yeah, I was able to take some of the things. I took some of my photos from online, and I was like, obviously, I'm like, AI could probably do something better than this, and it really did. I was like, okay. So,
Well, you
great.
guys done that. Cool. Okay, so no special presentations today, so we'll move on to business items. The next business item is resolution number 15, series 2026. A resolution authorizing and supporting the submission of a congressionally directed spending request for Bellum Bridge replacement. And I'll hand it off to you.
We have openings with House Rep Neguse and Senator Bennett and Senator Hickenlooper for submitting a project to congressionally directed spending. We thought the bridge would probably be the best candidate since it's going to be a federalized project, and we already got that $4 million from CDOT. We had a meeting today with the staff from House Rep Joe Neguse's office, kind of went over why this project's important to the town, to try to fill that funding gap between the $4 million we got and also our anticipated costs that may, by the time we get around to it in fall of 27, inflate to $6 million, maybe a little more. And so having some additional funding might enable us to do a little bit more as far as the pedestrian bike connectivity with the bridge and do something a little more aesthetically consistent with the town. So we're just asking for your support to go to our politicians and ask for some help.
Any questions on that? Okay, no better. So we'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 15, series 2026. A resolution authorizing and supporting the submission of a congressional directing spending request for the Bellum Bridge replacement project.
All second.
Motion by Gusty, second by Eric. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, next we have ordinance number 2, series 2026. An ordinance acting by and through the town of Minturn Water and Sanitation Activities Enterprise, approving a loan evidenced by a note to finance water system capital improvements, approving the note form and the loan repayment from the operation of the town's water.
And we have Troy here with us, our municipal advisor. Come on up, Troy. We've done a lot of work since the last time we discussed this, a lot of staff work. Really appreciate that. Jay's put an immense amount of time in trying to make sure things line up, double checking work, especially the last few days. I really appreciate that. This is a big deal for the town. So We've tried to kind of go over some of these things. We did a lot of outreach to make sure we got the best options we could for you since the last time we talked.
Yes, thank you, Rob. Good to be with you, council. So with the extension of the solicitation period, we were able to pick up a number of additional bids, which is always a good thing. Again, I have shown in front of you tonight that the interest rate that's been proposed, the interest rate term and the rate payment term, and then your average annual debt service, so on and so forth to the right. Now, what's new in this chart is that I've put in a column to the far right of the chart that shows the estimated monthly ratepayer impact based. I'm sorry.
Let's get whatever you're referring to. Let's get this up.
Okay. Forgive
I
me.
can enjoy the meeting. Do you want me to run it? Or you want?
Yeah, please. Sorry, I thought they had this in the
No,
packet.
sorry.
My apologies.
Get going here, and I'll join Cindy.
Okay, I can pull it up too. Sorry about that. 1 second.
Other graphic, otherwise we.
No, that's what I'm talking about. Councilmember Priest.
Yeah, we want to get on TV first.
Yep. Yep. Sorry about that. Got a little too excited.
Can everyone see it?
Not yet.
Okay, working on it. 1 second.
There we go. Thank you, Cindy.
Okay, you got it.
Okay. And does everyone have a copy in front of them as well? Okay, excellent. Okay. Okay. So we did pick up a couple more bids. Those are shown here. And again, interest rate with an interest rate term and a repayment term, average annual debt service and total debt service. It then continues on to the right, the far right, you'll see the ratepayer impact by month. That's estimated based on the interest rates that were proposed upon. And so I think what was enlightening for me throughout this process is that, you know, there are bids that have repayment terms of 27 and 30 years. I only mention repayment terms because that longer repayment schedule allows you to keep that annual payment as low as possible, which directly correlates to ratepayer impact. So that's why I want to draw your attention to the repayment terms, because those do in turn lead to lower average annual debt service payments, which are in that 5th column. And so that 5th column of the average annual debt service, that's what's used to calculate ratepayer impact. And so for me, I think we continue to have compelling bids here. I think what you'll find is that maybe a bid that has a higher interest rate than you might otherwise think is acceptable actually ends up having a lower average annual debt service because of the repayment term. So for me, I kind of focused on the repayment term and the average annual debt service because those are matters that directly impacts the ratepayer.
Okay, so any questions for Troy? Because I do have a few, but y'all can go first.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks, Troy. I'm just a little confused here.
Okay.
Okay, first of all, I'll start off with SRF. You know, I don't think any of us are really that motivated to do that because of the cost difference, but it seems like their rates have been changing quite a bit. The first time we met with you, I got the date. Well, in February 4th, the SRF was 4%. Now it's showing 3.5. The 30th, it was showing, I think, 3.8. But where I'm really confused is on the sheet you gave us, the December 30th, was it showed SRF basically being $66 debt service, and then it showed 57 something stabilization, which I don't understand what that is. on,
Okay.
on your sheet. And now
Okay.
you're showing on the sheet for SRF with the lower rate at a higher monthly rate payer. You're showing 91.24 when it was shown before it's at the highest, it was 66.
Sure. So the SRF has always been a 30-year fixed rate financing. The 3.5% I changed at the direction of the SRF fund in an email communication. Okay.
Yeah, I
It
received,
was sent to Rob. Rob forwarded that to me.
because they reached out to us because we withdrew our application. So I was talking to Ian Lowford. He's the assistant finance director. He sent me an email on the 23rd because I asked him, I was like, hey, if we were still in the cycle, where would we be? Because I think council would want to know. And he told us 3.5%.
Okay, well, that answers that question, but it doesn't answer
Yeah.
the monthly payment question.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, let me get to that. So, okay, so the single family equivalents or the accounts that we used to do the math by ratepayer, that number got adjusted a little lower than what was being previously shown in the fall. That's one reason why the monthly impact is higher. Excuse me, the other reason, council member, is that you're not paying $12 million for a project with the SRF. I've been consistent along this whole period. I've told you that I've assumed an 8% increase for that SRF project because of BABA, Buy America, Build America, Davis-Bacon. And so that's why you see that higher monthly ratepayer impact. That's because your project will cost at least 8% more.
Yeah, it's just a little confusing here because you look at a 27-year payment option at 5.67%, your very first one, and it's showing a payment of 87.27 when this was showing a payment of 91. I understand the cost goes up a little, but you're almost talking the same term, but 2.5% more interest.
Sure. And I have been consistent saying that I've always felt that the SRF will deliver the lowest all-in rate.
Oh, we all know that. I'm just
Right.
trying to figure out why the difference is in the monthly rate so different when we were talking at 10%, and this is a lot more than 10%. When you're considering the higher rate, the 5.
I suppose I can't answer your question any more than I have, Gusty, without diving into the numbers. So I'm happy to do that.
Yeah, because I'm just comparing 3.5% to 5.67. That's over 2%.
Sure.
And
let me investigate.
And what the SRF is.
Sure.
I understand SRF has more expense to it, 10%
Sure.
more. I understand that, but it just doesn't seem like that number jives.
Okay.
And I also have a question, which is how many water users are you factoring into this?
692.
Hey, when we did the reduction of the ones that aren't contributing to debt service, how many?
It's 6.
We went from the original number we had was about 740. And that included a number of people that are like the Minter North has 6 of them. They're only paying like $50 a month because they're under construction. And so we reduced that down to 600, right at 690, I think it was, in order to account for the 50 or 60 that are actually under construction or vacant lots.
I kind of feel that if they're a vacant lot or under construction, debt service hits everybody, and it should be hitting them too.
Hit that.
I know, but it should be. I think that's something we should look at, is because I feel that debt service should be paid by everybody that has a water tap. I mean, it's a debt service on the system, and they're on the system.
I think everybody should be paying the base rate anyway, so
Okay.
it hasn't been that way.
But in any event, within a year or so, they'll be coming into it, and which is probably when they'll be full ratepayers.
Some will, some that empty lots won't.
But and this number will go up. So it seems like 692 users is conservative, but I agree totally with Gusty. Everybody needs to pay. You know, I have a number of water taps that came with the property I own, never have used them, but I get charged full rate for those. And by the sanitation district and water district. Is the minimum of
We'll
our
have to
bill.
check that. I didn't realize that. There are some like
And I don't understand what the difference between that situation is and an empty lot or a lot that where something's being built. Because in the 17 years since we've been started building on our property, 18 years, we've never used more than one of those water taps.
you had the trailers on there and whatnot at one.
Historically, there were, so they came with extra water taps.
Where were we with Gusty's question? Let's circle back to that.
With the SRF, I
Yes,
said,
yeah.
to look into it. Before I was gonna-
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm looking at the math right now while
Okay,
we had
perfect.
side conversations.
I still had another
Yes, please.
here. We figure this off of a $12 million loan? Is that what all these numbers are based on?
$12 million project. I am assuming in these cases that approximately $2.5 million worth of cash would be contributed to that, to buy down the project, to buy
So
down.
did you factor that into the monthly rate pay with the 2.5?
Yes, correct.
So
Yep.
so you're really talking 9.5 million. is what
Yes,
we're finding.
exactly. Right around there.
Is that 2.5 million, to clarify that, is that a requirement for most of these?
No, it's not. That's an option for the town to buy down the debt, so to speak, council member, where again, with the ratepayer impact in mind, that's where we kind of got to a conclusion as a working group is that number. And so, yes, you're seeing the bids with that 2.5 million being contributed.
I had one more question. Now, what do you mean by the 101% if we refinance? Does that mean we have to pay the whole amount 101% or the amount that we still owe on it?
That means
Bid 3, option 2.
It's on a couple of them. It's actually on the last 3 that you just submitted, the 6, and then the bid 3, option 2.
Okay.
Correct. Yeah, it's all those that has the 101%. I don't.
Yes,
I don't
that-
understand that.
that is a penalty. So it's a 1% penalty effectively on the outstanding balance.
Okay.
So if you refi away from this bank, okay, then you have to pay that 1% premium.
And my very last question, you have listed on these all construction draw. Now, when we're doing the construction, which is probably going to be a 2-year construction,
Yep.
we're only paying interest on the amount that we actually have been borrowing. Like the first year is going to be less than the second year. The second year, of course, is going to go up. So we're only paying interest on that amount.
You're only paying interest on what's been drawn to
What's been
date.
drawn. We don't have to pay on the full 12 million.
Yeah, that's the whole benefit of a draw
Draw.
feature.
I just wanted to make sure that,
Sure.
that they're not going to do construction draws, but we're financing the whole,
Yes.
million.
Yeah, and again, that I think that's an important point to make, council member, is that these probably with the construction cycle will probably have slightly lower impacts over the construction period. So what these really I think represent are, once the construction period is over, I think that's where you would expect to see the average monthly ratepayer impact.
So with the construction draws and at the end the construction is complete, does that lower the principal to be financed after that?
Only if you don't spend it all. So, right. So
Yeah.
if you've got a $12 million project and you've put 2.5 million in, okay, that means you're borrowing roughly 9.5, as Gusty said.
Mhm.
The only way there would be less principal to amortize is if you didn't need the full 9.5 million.
And under fifth bank option 2, I don't understand the prepayment feature.
Yeah, so they're doing something a little unique. So in year 2, should the town the town in year 2 has the option to make a one-time cash prepayment, should it so choose. So that's what that's telling you, Len. And the
the 7-year refinancing is the parameter that kind of aligns with the rest of those items in that column.
So you could prepay it after 2 years?
Technically, that's what this bank is offering, yes.
And what about after 3 years?
Well, then they're giving you this window at year 2. I suppose it could be negotiated to another year, but I read their proposal to say in year 2, you can prepay us with cash. Otherwise, your refinancing date is in 7 years.
Well, I see it as not likely that we'll have the cash within that short a period of time.
Sure.
Within 7 years or 2 years?
2 years.
Yeah, because the 7 years is what the loan would have to be for Lynn on it.
And then it will be refinanced at market rate.
Just to clarify, am I correct in assuming that any difference between the interest rate term and the repayment term is basically like an arm? Like it,
Well, that's a very astute observation. That's exactly correct. So that means exactly what you just described, an adjustable rate mortgage. That means you're paying on a longer term, but your rate adjusts, right? So when you see a 5-year term under interest rate term, that means that rate's only fixed for 5 years.
But on the no call,
Yes. So
like the one for 15 years, that's fixed for 15 years?
correct. And that's amortizing in 15 years. You're talking about the fourth bank option number 2.
Yeah.
So, yes, that is a fully amortizing 15-year loan. And as I read that particular proposal, they did not mention the ability to repay or refinance.
Is that kind of like, oh, sorry, is that the no call feature that you have?
Yes, correct. When it says no call feature, I actually reread the
That's what I kind of
proposal.
thought it was. So.
Jay asked me before the meeting started, and I went through their proposal again, and it didn't speak to it. So that's what, I mean, you can take it more literally, Gusty, in that no call feature was submitted.
Oh, okay. So maybe that's something that could go.
Yeah, we could clarify for sure.
Because this is only first reading. So if we do have some questions,
Sure.
we should be able to.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
2 weeks, get the answers to them.
Sure. What I will note to you, though, that fourth annual payments go up quite a bit.
I was looking at like bid 3, option 3, 4.5%.
Yeah.
And that has the no call feature on it.
Yep. Yep. I see what you're talking about. Yep.
I think we have to, I think we need the long-term amortization because it's just too much for people to pay otherwise.
Well, right. And I did inquire with each bank about longer amortizations.
Any of the ones with short amortization makes sense.
I would tend to agree with that.
Hey, so but the problem is, depending on how the scenario plays off with the Highlands parcel or impact fee changes, or there's a lot of different things in play where the options, the preferable option could change based on that payoff. I mean, ranging from no payoff in 3 years to 100% payoff in 3 years, but anywhere in between, 75, 25%, you have to imagine the best option then would change. So if you're planning on paying off 50% of the project in 3 years, that will probably be a different best option for the town than it will be if we don't plan on paying anything off.
Right.
Which might end up at the SRS. So that's what we're trying to juggle here, right? So I'm like, if you're not going to pay this thing off and we don't care about that, then yeah, you can go and say, I don't know, like lowest monthly ratepayer impact. Let's just go with that. But that's kind of a false, because we could then get stuck. If we just look at that metric, we could stick the town with an extra $1 million in upfront or interest rates in the short term. That's you see what I'm saying? Like I'm trying to figure out, like, we're planning on these multiple options that are in the air. We need to figure out which of these is best. It might not be best for any one option, but maybe it's the second best in all of them, so that it covers all of our bases.
We have a lot of irons in the fire to basically pay down this loan. And if we have it locked for 7 years, just because we're looking at the lowest monthly rate, we're not going to be able to pay it off in 7 years. We can get $7 million cash off of Highlands or whatever, just throwing a number out, and we can't pay that down because.
But we also have to keep in mind that in terms of looking at the overall economic impact to the town, that even if we had a no call arrangement and we got our $10 million, we couldn't pay it off, but we could invest it in a bond, a long-term bond that would produce enough income that could be applied to the payments to cancel them out.
It actually wouldn't be enough to cancel it out though, because that's 4.5%, and I think COLA Trust is paying 3.8. So we would still be.
We wouldn't do it that way. We would get a bond, and I think government bonds, for example, today are paying 4.1% or something.
I just got a price Friday. It's under 4.
For a 10-year bond. I'm talking 10-year bond. We're talking a long term. It's not the best possibility, but we have to look at the whole. It will cost us. But we need to look at the whole picture, and I don't think people are going to be willing to pay $190 a month.
Right.
It's 2 for me.
So,
Yeah.
so that said,
Believe
it or not, when you look at the monthly ratepayer impacts across the board, an example, bid 3, option 3, 4.5%, 13-year interest rate term. Not bad. 15 is about as good as it gets. 27 years on the repayment. Construction draw, no call feature, 7809 on the impact after construction. So arguably, when we talk big picture, from my foxhole, that particular one meets a lot of.
Which one?
Bid 3, option 3.
Option 3.
Yeah.
Can I add a question about that, Troy, on the
Sure.
rate lock? Are we talking about rate lock till we close, or?
Correct.
And then our
Right now.
interest rate on what comes after construction, is that predetermined? Or
I don't like the fact that could change. I know some banks did contemplate that, where you have one interest rate during construction and then you would go into a permanent financing. Construction to perm is kind of the common vernacular. And so, no, your rate will be fixed from day one, Rob.
Everybody understand that?
Yep.
So, to Councilor Member Priest's comments, that's the one where my eyes keep getting drawn to. Why? Obviously, the lowest annual payment. It gives you plenty of runway to refinance if you want to, right?
So on that comment though, just reiterate the specifics of the no call on this.
Yeah, so that's one where I would say, hey, let's award, but you need to give us some kind of call date. So we need some.
Just chose not to provide it, or
so let me check that.
Honestly, that one would be a great one to have the terminology on there, any date.
Right. Let me recheck that one. So I did confirm that the 4th bid, that also has no call feature, right? It's silent on it. Let me just confirm that 3rd one. Are there any other questions I can answer in the meeting?
We're still talking about option 3.
Yep.
Okay.
Bid 3 option.
I know this is like a rounding error of a rounding error, but are the upfront costs included in the total debt service, or are those assumed to be? Okay.
Yeah, and they're actually conservatively estimated. Council member, I think they're going to come down a little bit, the cost of issuance that I anticipated. But anytime you see an upfront fee, council member, like in that third to from the left column, those fees are included in each debt service number.
Awesome. As is the 20.5 million down that we're assuming.
Correct, the 2.5.
That's what I got confused.
So key point is this. This,
Yes.
this is good.
Yeah, no, I saw this one. This was the one that.
I guess I don't feel comfortable going with, I don't know if there's like a better term than ARM, but if there's, we should be able to
That's,
prepay and refinance if we're going to have any sort of ARM would be mine.
Correct. Yes, I would also insist on.
So that kind of rules out any of the no call feature.
And it's only got a percent. You pay 50,000 in origination fee. Which bank is that option? Is bid
It's a
three?
local bank.
Which,
Option 4, you said?
no, option, bid
or
3, option 3, what bank? are
Bid
we talking
3. Bid 3 is a local bank.
about? Which bank?
we're not allowed to decide.
No, you can ask me. That was, I believe, Alpine Bank.
Mhm.
But you should check the footnote, Councilmember Feiger. They're requiring that you move everything over, and there is some question about whether they can do that. When I worked at UMB, I was not allowed to offer a loan dependent on terms.
I don't
You
think,
know, is
I
that
don't,
something that could be negotiable as far as we keep all of our money with Colo Trust and we just do our day-to-day banking?
You know,
Something
if
that
that's
you go
something that the
with.
council would direct me to do, I would do that. You know, ultimately, let's see here. I'm trying to confirm the call date feature here.
So Alpine Bank did come through in the end.
I suppose, yes. And yeah, so again, there's no call feature mentioned. So it's silent. Now, I do want to also reiterate that these rates are proposed rates. They're not final interest rates. So just keep that in mind.
Sorry if we canceled this. The 101% 5-year, does that just mean like a 1% penalty?
Yes, correct.
That's a weird
Yeah.
way to put it in there, Reddit, but yeah.
Yeah, so if you refinance away from that bank, they charge you a premium on the way out.
It's not nothing.
No, that can be a significant number.
So I guess moving forward, as far as looking at bid 3, option 3, more specifically looking at Alpine, which I thought per previous conversations, there was some leeway in regards to what business got moved there in light of Jay's explanation of our outlay. So obviously that's a conversation over to you, Jay, on that one. Are you there? Right. Jay.
question about the ask for the banking relationship and what we'd be willing to do there. If that's part of the equation for bid 3, option 3.
So
Well, I mean, based on what you explained before,
right, the draw is that they want several $1 million in their bank. And they can't match the rates because when Colo Trust goes down, so does everybody else.
Is that what they had in their bid? Is they wanted a couple million or?
Well, they would want all the money,
All.
and all our banking.
That's what I'm thinking is if we go back to them and just say, we do Colo Trust, we don't want to give that money away. You know, we want to keep it the way we've been doing it, but we would do our day-to-day banking kind of like what we do with First Bank, you know, run checks through them and do whatever, but the majority of our money stays with Colo Trust.
They haven't been real excited about
Well, that's
that.
what I'm thinking. If we tell them that we choose them, but they, you know, this is what we're wanting, we need to go back to them and see if they actually would come through.
I mean, there's no bone, there's no meat on that bone. There really isn't.
So, yeah, forgive me, Jay. That was a pretty aggressive interest rate, a great interest rate. I do wonder if it would change if we go back to them and say, you can't get our deposit business because we're doing our fiduciary duty to maximize return and liquidity, and no one can touch Colo Trust. Or if a bank can tell you they can do it, they're losing money on the deposit. So the way the Colo Trust is set up, it can provide that it's significant. It's significant.
Dollar Trust is just a government bank. It's not,
No,
Right.
Yeah,
you can't get individuals, you can't get companies in it. It's just
We
government.
used to do an economic analysis. I mean, just a quick one. What, well, first of all, we have to see what Alpine Bank is going to require. And then secondly, if it does require putting some of our reserves or all of our reserves there, what the difference in return would be and what the cost of that is, and feed that into the equation.
I agree with that.
The one thing I would say to Alpine too is like, you can't condition this loan
Correct.
on
That's
us maintaining
exactly
deposit.
illegal to do
They
that.
can't tie that. So, but they could maybe say, we want you to hold our, like the draw funds with us. We want you to have like an auto payment or things of that nature. I think, would we have the option here to have like a first choice and a second choice?
I think that makes sense because
Have a
I'm just
backup.
worried, Rob, that
Those conversations may not go well.
they may not go well and their terms may change as a result of it. So for me, I think that's a great suggestion and I fully support it. For me, I think it's important that I think we've got the numbers to make a decision, in my personal opinion.
What is Fifth Bank option 2? What bank is that?
If we're talking there, could you help me understand what the difference is between those two? Because the terms look.
That is a bank called Columbia Bank. They have established a Colorado presence in the last 3 years. They're a long-standing commercial bank out of California that has established a presence in Colorado.
Those are pretty competitive offers because they're not
Yes.
asking for an origination fee and they're just asking you to pay for their counsel.
That's the 35K.
Yeah. Which
Yeah,
is less
which,
than
by the way, is a non-starter for me.
the 35.
Yes, it's a non-starter.
Why is that? It just
Because that person's getting paid more than your bond attorney, and your bond attorney's drafting the documents, not the bank attorney. So that's where I think I can do my job to say, and you've got Mike, your general counsel, also reviewing the documents. Bank counsel is not going to draft a document. They're going to simply review the documents.
So you're more in favor of like 0.5% or?
Oh, no, for me, I love that proposal. I would just go back to them and say, hey, 35 is, I can go across the board.
So you might get that number down then.
Yes, exactly. That's what I mean. You can see the second bank, they're only charging 15. That's a much more reasonable lender counsel fee.
Well, but in the scheme of things, 35,000.
Sure. But I do think there's
where the action is.
I do think there's a principle to it, though, council member.
I think we're trying to do the best thing for the ratepayers.
I didn't
That's
get
right.
it. If on that fifth
Yeah.
option, what is the difference between those two
And
quotes?
This allows the construction law, which
They both say that.
They all.
So I'm trying to figure out.
they all do that.
I'm trying to figure out why it's minor different. I'm just trying to figure out. I must be missing something.
No, let's see here.
Is that between option 1 and option 2, Brian?
Yes.
Yeah.
The rates are different, but
different.
yeah, the rates are different, and that's because where are their rates?
4.98 versus
Yep.
4.83.
Hold on.
They look pretty identical. Is that a different bank?
No.
Oh, okay. Now I got it. Okay. This is important. So this is one of the reasons why the town's considering a cash contribution. When a municipal borrower issues or borrows under $10 million of debt in a calendar year, you can get a tax benefit designation called bank qualification, or BQ. So that is, the banks get a tax benefit, basically for holding bank qualified bonds in their investment portfolios. Some banks care that a deal is bank qualified. Some banks don't. This particular bank does. So that difference in the rate, council member, and forget, I thought I footnoted that, but maybe I forgot. But that's the difference between a bank qualified interest rate and a non-bank qualified interest rate.
Okay, so if the project goes over 10 million,
Correct. You're borrowing
We're
at
at
the bigger
four.
number.
we're at the bigger number. Okay. I mean, it's not. I was just curious.
No, yeah, I thought I had footnoted that. My apologies.
So okay.
So all other things being equal, I then start looking at the interest rate term next to the, as a factor, like if we're using bid one, for example, not saying the rest of the terms are the right ones, but they've got a 5, a 10, and a 5, 7, and 10-year lock for, I don't know, I'm using home mortgage terminology. I'm sure this is wrong, but that, like the difference between a 5-year lock and a 10-year lock in, all in cost and monthly ratepayer impact isn't that much. And to me, it seems like adding another 5 years of certainty on a rate is always a good thing, for an extra, not that much of a difference on the end. I don't know if everyone agrees with me on that, but I always get scared of short-term, kind of mortgages like that. I don't like uncertainty. You're a lawyer. You don't like uncertainty either.
Who's bid two?
Bid two is Western Alliance Bank, another long-established Colorado bank, but maybe not a super popular or well-known name because they don't have a lot of retail banking.
Well, so bid option 3, we do have a rate term.
Which bid?
Bid 3, option 3.
Yep.
It's kind of confusing, but they have a 13-year rate, fixed rate term.
Yep.
And that at 4.5%.
Yep.
And that's awfully nice, but we don't know if we can work out everything.
Right.
I think that's my option to be the first option, as long as we're able to work out those two, with the Colo Trust being able to keep our money there, and then what they have on it as far as the no call feature, getting that, where we were able to pay it off sooner, because the way I read it was no call feature. We're locked in until at least the interest rate term.
Correct.
And even if we have to pay a little bit more when we, because of that, that still might be the best option. And then if that doesn't work, the fifth bank option, number 2, which has a fixed rate term of 10 years, is probably the next best deal for us. Does everybody agree with that?
I do.
Yeah, bid two, option 2, those two.
Okay, so let me be very clear for the record. Bid 3, option 3. I've got 2 follow-up questions for them. I know what they are. And then we're looking at fifth bank, option 2 as a backup.
I'd throw out bid 2, option 2 as well.
Bid 2, option 2. Okay.
I'm wondering if we almost need to have a meeting with Alpine Bank and talk to them.
That's what they're gonna do. That's what he's gonna do.
Well, I'm wondering if town staff might want to participate in that, because there's a lot of, insofar as it involves a banking relationship.
I know who the president was that bid on this. I'd be more than glad to do that.
That would be great, Steve.
Can I interject something real quick? I kind of want to circle back to moving our money out of Colo Trust. I don't think any of these do, but if we've got $6 million and it's pretty close to what we've got in Colo Trust, and we take $2.5, $3 million out, put it down on this loan, the vast majority of the money left in Colo Trust is not enterprise fund. And so they want all of the money, including general fund money.
We're not suggesting that.
No,
I know,
that's
but
what we're saying, to go back and see if we can get that, where they don't do that, so.
But I kind of want to point that out that
No, we're
We understand that, yeah, we just want to see if he's able to take it to them and say, hey, legally, you can't do that. You can't have
Yeah.
all that.
Yeah, they're actually going to have to submit another bid if we're going to keep this all nice and clean. That's what I would recommend because I was uncomfortable with the way it was written.
So but you
I-
need to,
I
you need
just
to
think-
understand why they want that. It's
Yeah, exactly.
Obviously, they're going to make some money on your deposits. They like that.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that in the event of default, they have
Your money.
Yeah.
security.
Oh, yeah.
And so they are able to charge you a lesser interest rate because of those two factors. So, I mean, if those are both no-goes for you, expect that interest rate to go up.
Right. Thank you, Mike. That's a good point. In that proposal, let me get back to it.
Well, while I was looking at that, I'd still go back to what Rob already mentioned, which is just discussing the transactional terms.
Okay. Never mind.
That's just not gonna be on the table in regards to the other piece.
And it may, based on the conversations that we had with banks, it may be a quick no. So that's why I'm like, to save time here, like give us a quick alternative without a lot of variables that we could feel comfortable moving ahead on your behalf. Because otherwise, like, if we have to come back,
Well, the only wild card and all that is to throw out, inevitably you're gonna get the answer, but you already alluded to it, as did Jay. Okay, fine, give us the term Collar Trust gives us. If you're willing, for the sole purpose of what Mike just said, which is just concerned about default, then you're willing to lose a little money. You're gonna give us the terms of Collar Trust for security on the loan. Okay, I got it. It's probably gonna be a no, but can't hurt to ask the question. Right?
and then if that's a no, Troy, do we stick to our timeline if we move to another option? Or how
Yeah,
does that?
so that's, thank you, Rob. You segued nicely to what I was thinking about is the timeline, which I believe you have in your packets tonight. For me, I think if we have a backup and, the first line of questioning doesn't get us the results we want, I would suggest going to option 2. But to stay on time, I think, speaking of timing, going through the details, we're in really good shape right now. The town has an outstanding rural development note, and they actually need to approve you issuing additional debt. So that was embedded in their loan document from 1997, where they need to basically sign off before we can issue that bond. And unfortunately, I did have a recent communication with the Rural Development Office, I think at Array or Alamos, I can't remember. That's taking at least 2 months to get that kind of approval. So for me, I think there is some timing sensitivity, I'll say. I don't think there's any urgency. I don't like rushing things, but I am seeing a little volatility in the interest rates right now.
Are you saying we're out 2 months from now?
That's an option. The option is to, you got a small balance, 24,000. So to make that 2 month timeline go away, we pay it off.
And we've also got to worry about interest rates going up again with
Yes.
what's going on in the world right now with the Iran war.
Yep.
I know we might have gone over this again, but can you help me understand the 2-year cash prepayment, 7-year refinancing? Because to me, that's the big difference between the fifth bank and the bid 1 or bid 2 which is just like a 3-year. So like one of them is after 12/1/2029. The other one is 2-year cash prepayment, 7-year refinancing. Does that mean we can repay it completely off after 2 years? But I'll let you do this because you'll do it correctly.
So prepayable without penalty beginning after the second anniversary of the loan closing from excess cash of the borrower. So you can only pay them off on the 2-year anniversary with cash. You can't refinance them out. You have until 7 years to refinance.
So under that option, if we have sell the Highlands for five,
Right.
if we sell the Highlands for 5 million, do they then re-am the loan?
They have to, Mike. Because maybe they don't. There's a couple different ways we can do that. There are a couple of workarounds that I've done in the past so that it doesn't change. What it does is it effectively just shortens the debt.
Well, I think I mean, but if the idea is to bring the nut down, so the water rate is lower, we would actually want them to re-amortize it.
Yeah. So for me, that's certainly a request. For me, I personally rather get away with the 2 and 7. It's a little confusing. And 5. You have 5-year lockout or a 3-year lockout from refinancing. For me, that might be the cleanest way to do it.
Because 7 years isn't that much different from the 10.
Right.
Right. Troy, one of the things you said about the odds of refinancing this loan, what is it, within 3 years?
Within 3 years, it's likely. I wouldn't say highly likely. I would say that certainly within 5 years, typically will go up to 80-90% of my clients will refinance within that 5-year window when they have that short of a window. 3 years, I think, is pretty aggressive, but around 5 years is where I've seen a lot of my clients refinance.
And they refinance because of a lower interest rate.
Yeah.
But if interest rates aren't going lower, I mean, that's only because they're not refinancing.
Right. But
We want to either.
right.
Would want to pay down our loan.
Right. Well, that's why I like the 5th bank option or the bid 3 option 3. They're giving you 10 or 13-year fixed rate. So you've got that time period before your rate would change. So I look at those as, so for example, the 5th bank option 2, you've got 10 years to refinance that. That's how I look at that.
Well, I think one of the key things too that I realized in conversations with some of the larger banks is if we're refinancing, especially because we have cash on hand, we may be in a very different market than the market we're in right now, because they can amortize it. They can over a shorter period of time. And one of the large banks that I spoke with was like, we're not interested in where you are now, but if you want to come back on refinance, you'd be very attractive and we'd be in a different kind of market.
By where you are now, do you mean total ask? Sorry, guys.
Because some of the larger banks, they're not willing to amortize over these longer periods. They're like, we'll give you a 10-year loan on the money you need today, and that's it. So they're like, the costs aren't going to work out on your rate impact. But if you come back and refinance because you have cash on hand, call us,
And construction would be complete, right?
Yeah, so it's a lot less risk.
Construction risk.
Got it. So that's something to think about.
So we need.
So then if you're looking at that, the entity feature is probably the best.
Oh, it gives you maximum flexibility for
Because
whatever.
otherwise, if you're waiting till 2029 or 7 years, you can't do that.
I think you're trying to balance flexibility with rate impact.
But I think realistically, again, the any day, the no call feature, sorting that out.
Yep.
But really 2029, considering the key items that we're looking at in regards to getting cash on hand, which is increased number of ratepayers, which let's be honest, is 10 years, 5 to 10. We use just the school district, 3 phases is 10 years. And then the Highlands, who knows by the time that gets resolved. So ultimately to have the amount of money, whatever that amount of money is, 2 to 3 years is extremely aggressive in a belief that we're going to be at that place. So to be able to lock these rates in the 10 to 13 year mark makes me warm and fuzzy.
So let's investigate bid 3 option number 3 more.
Right.
And bank option number 2 more.
And then
You said, what was the second one?
all right, yeah, let's repeat this for the record. So I've got bid 3, option 3, 2 or 3 big follow-up questions for them that we've discussed. I've got Fifth Bank option 2.
And,
I'm sorry?
and Gusty will be at the meeting.
Yeah, if it helps to meet with
He's welcome to.
Just because it involves banking relationships too.
Of course, I wouldn't think to do so otherwise.
So I think,
Okay.
So the second one, the
Yeah.
option 2, you can attack them on the 35K.
Yep. Yep. And then I think, yeah, go ahead.
Both of us have a question on, both of us being Gussie and I, specifically, bid 2. There was the only day.
Yeah, option 2, where you have a 30-year repayment.
Yeah, the 5.
7.
We have a 5.35 and then the 5.6.
Yeah.
Yeah,
both of those.
See, like it's with bid 1, they have option 2 and then option 3. One's at 5.39, one's at 5.16, but one's 7-year rate term, and then the other's a 5-year rate term. And the 5-year rate term seems like it's less. It's at 82.93, where the 7 years more. Seems kind of odd.
No, the 7 years
Well,
would be more, right?
The 7 for option bid 1, option 2, I'm looking at 7 years. That's amortizing over 27 years. Bid 2, both their options amortize.
No, I was looking at bid 1, comparing bid 1's to the option 2 and option 3. Both are 27 years. One's 5 years, one's 7 years.
Yeah.
But the 5-year, the rate is actually less than the 7-year.
Correct.
And shouldn't it be the other way?
No, sir. The longer the time value of money, the longer you give someone money, the longer you do, you want more return for that money. So typically.
But this is opposite because it's showing the 5-year is $82.
Yeah.
And it's showing the 7 years $84.
It's like a 3-year arm versus a 5-year arm, though. So a 5-year arm is preferable, so it's going to cost more.
Correct. So
yeah, that it should, but shouldn't the payment be more? See what I'm saying? The $82.93. If it costs more.
no, for
For
me, the longer the fixed rate term, Gusty, the higher your interest rate's going to be. That's been my experience.
Yeah, but I'm talking, I'm going all the way over to the monthly rate.
And those correspond to the higher interest rates for the longer term rates.
Okay, I see the 5.3. Never mind. Excuse me. Sorry. I was focusing in on the 7 and 5-year term, because 2 years difference.
Sure.
But there is a little rate difference there.
Yep.
So just throwing out the third, probably a throwaway, was bid 2, option 2. I think you said that was Western.
Yeah, well, yeah, because they're giving you the longest amortization. So you're if their rate was probably the rate's in the ballpark. But for me, that's what was really surprising about that Councilmember Priest was that they stuck out with 30 years.
So why are the bid 2 options less favorable than the bid 1?
I'm not saying they're less favorable.
Oh, okay. I thought maybe that's what we were saying.
bid 2, option 2 is my circled one for
I'm
those.
saying
Oh, okay.
Third item to look at would be bid 2.
Yes, option 2.
Yeah,
I would agree.
What's the second item?
Yep. So again, final. Yeah. May I? Okay.
Yes, please.
So, all right. So we've got bid 3, option 3.
We know what to do there.
Yep. Second, Fifth Bank, option 2.
Mm-hmm.
Finally, bid 2, option
Option 2.
Option what?
2.
Bid 2, option 2.
Yeah. So those are our finalists.
335222.
Bid-
Yeah.
If on bid, just to real quick, so on bid 3, option 3, if we're like, okay, this is what we're willing to do as far as the relationship, and they really want to retool this beyond what we see here in a significant way, like significant to me would be a change in the interest rate beyond like 0.25 or 0.5, then I think we move on.
Well, that's the point.
I'm just trying to play it out when that conversation happens.
Yes.
Okay.
Then you're off.
Like significant material changes in interest rate and whatever. We're like, okay, let's move on.
Yeah, then you're off to Fifth Bank option 2. If that
Okay.
doesn't work out, then we go talk to Western.
But we also have to check out how much difference in interest rate we would get if we moved our stuff over there versus if we didn't.
And that's kind of where I'm like, if it's more than 0.5, are you going to be like, you know what, forget it?
I think that's good like that.
We just want to know.
Okay.
Yeah.
And look at the whole picture.
Well, it starts with what I suggested, which is roll a full Monty out there and ask the question, you got to match COLA.
Okay.
If you aren't, then for you guys to have further conversation or shake hands, get the free donut and leave.
Okay. We feel good about that? Okay.
I'm sure I know the answer, unfortunately, but can't.
Oh, water bottle, especially a metal one. That would be really something.
Some pens.
Okay.
They usually have Northside on Wednesday, so. All right. There,
Yeah, make a motion.
Public comment on this?
is there?
Yeah.
Public comments?
Motion, right?
Yeah, there'll be public comment too.
This is not the public hearing, but you absolutely can and should take public comment.
Because it's an ordinance, correct?
Public hearing for this ordinance will be held at second.
Oh,
reading.
will be.
Yep. The official public comment, but there is no reason not to take public.
Okay.
This is a different ordinance because it goes 30 days for second reading, not the next meeting.
March 20.
And I just want to point out, you won't see it
Revised.
at the next meeting, really, will it? No.
No,
Won't be.
we gotta go. We gotta go 30 days. That's what the code requires on debt.
Which it passed April 1st.
Your charter, it's a charter requirement.
So I just want everybody to go, it's like, wait, didn't we do this? Or when do we do this?
Right. Yeah, I've memorized that charter section. It's unique, 9.4.
Mayor?
Yes.
Okay, so we'll open it up for public hearing.
By Bueller.
Irwin?
Yeah.
Do you want to comment? Okay, Cindy, anybody else out on Cyber World?
No one with their hand raised, Earl.
Okay, close the public hearing.
All right, made a motion to approve Town of Minturn, Colorado ordinance number 02 series 2026 ordinance of Minturn, Colorado, acting by and through the Town of Minturn Water and Sanitation Activities Enterprise, approving a loan evidenced by a note to finance water system capital improvements, approving the note, form and loan repayment from the operation of the town's water system, and providing other details and approving documents relating to the loan.
And,
That's the motion.
Do we need to specify the bids?
how can we do this when we don't know what loan we're getting yet?
This is.
To the last first reading, we'll have a second reading on it. And then we'll decide who's there.
And there's,
So we can vote for this ordinance without having a loan in mind.
without having a lender in mind. The loan is contemplated in the ordinance document.
and so, yeah, we have, your charter actually does provide great flexibility between readings. So
And if we change the terms, so we can change the terms a little bit.
sure. Ultimately, our bogey is going to be that monthly ratepayer impact. So I think that's ultimately how we make our decision, right? So between those three finalists.
There are some required parameters.
Yes.
Of the debt that have to be in the ordinance, and the ordinance was drafted by our bond attorney. And there are currently placeholders in there, and when we get to second reading, we will go through kind of a two-step process. There will be a arm raising as to which of the loans you're going to choose to accept. We will then, Jay and I will then insert those into the ordinance for your consideration on second reading, and then you'll deliberate and potentially approve that ordinance.
Thank you. I just wanted to know how this works.
So on that note, there's a really long motion out there.
And I'll second that motion.
Motion by Tom, second by Gusty. Roll call, please.
Brian, I.
Then
Gusty, aye.
And Earl. All right. Next, we're into discussion direction items.
Thank you.
Thank you, Troy.
Thank you, Troy. First item, a lot of discussion, a lot of golf cart discussion.
Cindy put together a really great memo for you, kind of outlining our staff perspective, with some legal guidance there. We don't need to go into the depth of that, but are there questions or concerns, or where do you want to start off on this discussion?
I think it's cool having golf carts on the road. I really do. I think this all got stemmed from Crazy Chicken when they got to one that. And I think to protect ourselves, we need to make sure that they have liability insurance for the customers that they're hauling on that, so that in case an accident happens and they hit somebody on the street, or basically they're liable or not.
Can I jump in quick, Gusty?
You bet.
Yeah, so just a little background on why this is coming up, right? We updated our code in 2020 to allow for the operation of golf carts in town for personal use, and we implemented guidelines at that time. And it has been working very well. I think we've had minimal issues from that perspective. We are asking people who operate golf carts in town to register with the towns. We do have a licensing process. We don't charge for it. We're just basically tracking so we can ensure compliance. So we have, I think, 8 or 9 right now. It's not a lot, but that are registered with us. The reason we're bringing this back up recently is that we have had inquiries, as you mentioned, from businesses inquiring about commercial use of golf carts. And while our code, and Robin might want to jump in here, while our code does not expressly prohibit commercial use, there are some factors in the current code that would make it difficult. And then the Crazy Chicken specifically inquired about using a golf cart for a shuttle. And their cart that they currently own is outside of, it's basically not in alignment with our code because we have size and passenger number restrictions as it stands today. So there are questions about if we wanted to allow businesses to entertain commercial use, we would need to look at changing the code. And then questions came up about liability, and is there any liability to the town if we permit them? And the other issue is if they're actually wanting to shuttle customers, depending on where they want to shuttle from, we have the challenge of traveling either on Main Street or the wrong way down a one-way street. So that has come up. The question really at this time is this a road that we want to go down and entertain, or would we like to keep things sort of as the status quo with just personal use of golf carts? And so that's kind of the background as to how we got here. And so far, the Crazy Chicken was the first one to come forward. We had one other kind of maybe inquiry, but they didn't seem super serious about it yet. So really, we've just had those couple inquiries.
The only like missing piece maybe is like from a staff perspective, like there's a capacity issue to administer the program as it is today. And so an expansion of a program, our concern is not like the value of golf carts or any of that. It's just our ability to facilitate a more expanded program and address deficiencies that there may be, and make sure that those things are addressed. If somebody decided to sue the town or whatever, that we were negligent in our administration of the program, or we were negligent in objecting deficiencies on our roads or signs, that would be our concern, is that we don't necessarily have the capacity to make sure all those things are in line.
How do we get around Highway 24?
Well, yeah,
Are they allowed to even cross the highway?
Yeah, you can cross it like a 90 degree, you can cross.
But there's no getting around 24 to link the south end of town with our end of town. So you're gonna be on 24 to get to the Bellum Bridge.
Or to link it, link it with the parking, you have to go.
I'm with Gussie. I mean, the golf carts are cool, but I guess over to the legal expert in the house, the second we start ginning up a policy that authorizes certain things, and we have a high occupancy golf cart where nobody's wearing a seatbelt and they're driving down Highway 24, there's an accident. Where does that leave the town? Which I assume in the policy would stipulate you can't drive on Highway 24.
That is the first thing, because under CDOT regulations, you can only cross at 90 degrees. And that then raises, as Cindy had indicated, the problem that to get to a proper crossing point, you've got to use Eagle, and Eagle is a one-way street, but you need to use it in two directions. So now you've got traffic going the wrong way on a one-way street.
Which again, I don't want to, in no way, shape or form are we putting that in a policy.
Well,
Yeah, the
we do
range
for
of
snowmobiles.
being able to shuttle customers is Boulder and Pine and Eagle Street. And that's it.
It's snowmobiles.
And that, how is that gonna be an effective service for?
I think all they're trying to really do is get people from the bottom of the mile and get them over to their restaurant, which you can do from our thing. I think the biggest, I think this is no different than like Nashville's what are they, like the bicycles where they like face each other and you pedal and it like goes down the street. Have you seen those? Yeah, you've seen those. There's a way to do this. I guess my biggest worry is like, Rob lives over at the end of Taylor Street. What are these guys gonna all just like go park all their golf carts over there in people's driveways and pick people up at the mile? Like, I don't think we're set up to accomplish what they're trying to do from that end.
Well, regardless of the mile or it's middle of summer, again, it doesn't get around the fact that unfortunately Highway 24, at some point they got to touch it. And at some point they're going to have to go north, south,
No,
east, west.
No, they don't. I do this all the time to get to the mile. You go to the mile, you go all the way down there, and then you go behind, and then you go down the backside, and then you cross in Toledo, and then you go up and around Toledo, and you go the back way past here, and then you're in his backyard, or you're in his restaurant. So you don't have to. For his specific, that's probably why he was thinking, oh, this is a great idea. I can do this the same way that everybody else drives their golf cart. Looking at my fellow golf cart owner over here.
Direction.
Huh?
Till he goes back the other direction.
But we have generally allowed two-way traffic for snowmobiles and golf carts on, why is the street name blank?
Eagle Street. And the reason being is because there's not much traffic on that street. It's very little. So,
But the snowmobiles
I'm
have used it. You see them running on the railroad track.
Oh,
That's different though.
I know.
So the way out, I mean, when it snows and I have a snowmobile, I don't have one right now, but Gusty does. Yeah, that's the only way out of town because the Forest Service in 2000 or whatever it was, 2010 took away Hay Meadow, so you can't get your snowmobiles down to Meadow Mountain anymore legally unless you go that way too. So I think is there a way to designate that street as a two-way street only for certain types of vehicles?
Couldn't police it.
Well, that's currently what we do, but that seems like a bad idea.
yeah, I think the answer is yes. If we want to formalize what people are doing now, we can amend the traffic code to indicate that street for certain types of vehicles, non-passenger licensed vehicles can be used two ways and designate some kind of standard that you have to drive on one side or the other or something like that.
Messenger.
I would really like to hear public comment on.
The one thing I just reiterated again from the staff perspective, it's not about the merits per se of like golf cart use. It's a capacity thing of the one person who administers this is Cindy, who also does municipal court, who also serves on your DDA, who does all these things. And so all we're concerned about from a staff perspective is expanding the scope of something without the ability to address issues and regulate it. That's kind of what we're speaking to.
How many permits are there right now?
I believe there are 8. I can double check that, maybe 9. And Kevin has been helping me with this as well. Since we have so few, it hasn't been a challenge with the way it stands now. Again, it's just if we were to open this up, which, I have no opposition to, we just want to make sure we both have the capacity and the ability to manage the logistics of it. So even if we address the Eagle Street, challenge and that we would still need to change the code. So just keep that in mind. So it would have to come forward to public comment anyway at some point because we'd have to reword some things in the code. And then my only other question would be a Mike question, and that is, does this open us up to any kind of liability concerns?
And so there's how do we use Eagle Street, staff capacity, and then town liability? There are other communities in Colorado that have similar golf cart use policies within their towns on non-state highways. We can put a feeler out if anybody allows for commercial use within their communities. We would also want to talk with CIRSA, our insurance carrier, to make sure that they didn't have a problem with this. I think the way we would deal with if we allowed commercial use, there obviously would be a mandatory insurance requirement that they would have to demonstrate to the town. We probably would require anybody having a license to sign an indemnification agreement with the town saying that if something goes wrong, if one of your people makes an error and you're carrying commercial passengers and there's an accident, to the degree any claim is made against the town of Minturn, you indemnify and agree to defend us in that.
I'm just trying to see what the benefit to the town is. You've got maybe 1 or 2 restaurants that want to do this. And all it's doing is allowing people to ride a golf cart from where they live to a restaurant. This is going to cost the town in legal fees and in staff time to regulate it. Is that worth it? I mean, people can walk in this town to whatever restaurant they want.
I think you're not like the vision, and he's not here, but I chatted with him a little bit, just trying to put myself in like Kyle's like brain, which is hard to do because he's not here, the owner of the Crazy Chicken. You know that as well, how hard this would be. But like, if I was a business owner that had this and I was approaching the town and making the pitch, my pitch would be like, Minturn is built around being funky. People think it's hilarious when they show up in town and people are driving around in golf carts. And if they were offering some service where they picked people up at the bottom of the mile and didn't have to walk in ski boots and brought them to the bar, that could become a hit. Like, people would be pretty stoked about that. The question is like, my biggest question, I think that would be, that has a potential to like help us out economically. It could drive people to town. It could drive people into the businesses, whatever. My biggest question is like, does the end of Taylor Street end up like a golf cart circling zone where everyone's like going, hey, like when you get out of the airport and the taxi drivers yelling at you. So that would be my main concern to opening up commercial, is like pickups and all that stuff. Seems like it would get really messy.
So the golf carts are good in the winter?
No.
This winter,
You've got snow tires. I don't think there's like a car.
It's I don't see that as being a problem because we don't have that many businesses for starters. But either way, I think the one thing we just got to focus on is the liability piece.
I do
From
too.
there, it's over to the business, just as you said, the indemnification piece, because the other item is making sure the driver is not altered in any way and leave it at that. So they're going to drive their golf carts. I just want to keep the town from getting punched in the face.
Commercial?
No.
We'll throw one more thing out, is they should have a license too, because I seen some kids last year driving that
People.
6-seater or whatever that was probably 12 years old.
Well, 2 people are talking at the same time.
Nobody would drive you.
No. I'm
Sorry,
just
guys.
talking- The individual from the business might be altered.
Oh,
And
okay.
agreed, it's stones.
Gotcha.
Got it.
Okay, so what happens when they've got across the street and they're up Taylor and they've got, a couple of kids, a couple of adults and going back down, and they get the crossing at Toledo and they hit the gas or the electric, and all of a sudden it stalls because the battery's dead in the middle of the road, and here comes a car that's right on. So I don't know. It's,
Are they blocking traffic for all of the Taylor Street?
He's just worried about getting T-bone.
That might have happened with the car.
Driving
That was Frank's car.
I seen some kids that was about 12 years old driving that.
Dusty,
You gotta be,
our code does say you have to be 16 and have a driver's license to
they
operate them.
weren't 16, I'll tell you that.
I know, we have definitely had violators. It's just hard to enforce, but you can definitely report it especially if you see repeat culprits, and we can address it.
and he is hard to enforce.
Oh, yeah, it is.
I mean, residential use, that's cool. I just don't know how this is going to work long term, as far as being a real benefit for anybody, other than being what your points are, Brian. But
There's another way to do a shuttle from the public parking, from the saloon, from one business to another. I mean, certainly in the summertime, it's cool. Got it. I'm not opposed to it. Again, I think you just need to write down the list of rules that keeps us out of hot water.
And I don't know that we want to generate more traffic coming down the mile. I mean, it's pretty.
Well, I'm saying take the mile out of it.
Okay.
Because I want to meet the person in the dead of winter that wants to jump on the golf cart. It's cool, but I don't think there's gonna be many there. I'm just talking when normal people are driving normal golf carts, which is when they're wearing shorts and a t-shirt.
I don't think that, given that staff is apparently against it and doesn't feel they have the bandwidth, I think to handle the program, and that it is very narrow in terms of the number of commercial establishments that would benefit. I'm kind of thinking that we're not ready for this.
Yeah, I'm against it for what it would do to Taylor Street. My biggest reason for wanting this discussion, have we looked at any way to get to Little Beach Park legally, like using other right-of-way options or anything for our citizens? This is the main reason I wanted to have the golf cart discussion on the agenda, was to look at safe, legal, legalize a way to get people to Little Beach Park on their golf carts from town, because right now they can't do that.
I mean, without some type of, without some type of right-of-way acquisition of like federal land on the other side of the river, or change to CDOT rules, I don't know how we would do that.
So even in this, do we manage the shoulders?
No.
Do we manage the side? So they manage the whole thing, even the parking.
I guess you could try to, I guess another alternative there would be you build your own like asphalt road, but that would take out front yards. It would take out, and then you have that slope at the townhomes.
And we approached CDOT and they said no.
I don't think we've ever considered that. I mean, we'd be talking about a multi-million-dollar project.
No. Just to allow them on that stretch.
Oh, I think that's a dead no, because it's not consistent with administrative rule or state law.
I mean, we allow like kids on striders on 24. I feel like golf cart's not that different. I don't know. I feel like we should ask.
Okay.
I don't know. I just feel like that's like one of the main constraints of town is not being able to get 24. So like, what are all the options that we can do to allow people to?
I know that'd be expensive until you use a sidewalk.
Good. Create a whole new right of way.
I mean, could you do it along the railroad track with a temporary lease or something?
The CDOT route, yeah, we're going to do that.
Or like, what's the upper? There's an upper, like, if we look
Speaking
at
of
everything.
bandwidth at this point, those are the railroad's a non-starter. They're not going to be able to use the railroad. To me, we're going to link up tomorrow. I want to see you haul down that railroad from my house to Little Beach Park on a golf cart.
We do it all summer.
Yeah, summer.
No, I don't want to go over the road.
Yeah, that's why I put a lift on
We
it.
do that route all the time.
Then keep doing it.
I
I don't understand what's the
Hold on.
why does this have anything to do with town?
Professionals at that.
Okay,
Commercial. What were we?
are
Yeah,
we,
this is all commercial.
we
don't really
ready to
care.
move on this issue?
Yeah, public direction.
Our direction is
Support not looking into it really, just because of the liability.
okay.
Let's wait. I'd say wait till we get more requests from businesses if it becomes an actual thing that brings value.
I'm not the idea.
Until the Minturn Railroad Golf Cart Club gets bigger, I don't see the point of having this.
Lynn wants to say something.
I have a DDA, correct?
Yeah.
How about if the merchants got together and the word somebody used was shuttle? And they all pitched in and got a shuttle, alternate an employee per night. So one on Tuesday from the wings, one on Wednesday from the barbecue. They're able to use the highway. We don't have to worry about all these things on liability because then the insurance is up to them and it would still work because you could use the highway. And they'd all be pitching in on it. So it wouldn't be one person and it would service all the different restaurants in town. So if they get somebody who's drunk in the wings place and they need to get them to the parking lot, you call that shuttle that night. Maybe it only runs from 5 to 10 or from after ski until 9 o'clock. But it's something the DDA might be able to organize and get together, and then it takes it out of the town's hands. It's their issue.
And you mean using a vehicle,
Free legal.
not a,
Yeah,
a Suburban, a van, whatever, yeah.
yes.
Well, because it's Minturn, it'll be a VW van with the top chopped
Yeah.
with a tag.
Like an old beach van.
This is too fun and got to chime in. Rob Gushevsky, 560 Taylor Street. And the trailhead can't get any crazier. I don't think a couple wings place pickups in a day would make any difference up there. And also, if the drivers of the golf carts are inebriated or whatever, can't that be the responsibility of the police to bust them and penalize them directly? And how does that fall into the town if golf cart drivers are being irresponsible? Also, as a business owner who has to go through tons of insurance, every big job we do, we have to submit insurance up to the general contractor specifications. Not that hard, not that big a deal. And if there's only 8, Cindy sounds like she's handling 8 just fine. You get 2 more on there, that's 10. Thank you, Cindy. We all know she hustles. So I think it's cool. I think golf carts are cool. I love seeing Kelly Tunes updated decorations all the time. So it makes me smile. I think nobody else has got it. It's cool. We have snowmobiles. Let's stay cool.
Thank you, Rob.
But we already have that, I guess is my point. I thought this entire discussion is about commercial. So Kelly Toon driving around the golf cart is all go. That's not what we're talking about though. We're just talking.
But you have to realize in the meeting, it didn't say anything about commercial golf carts discussion. It was listed, it just said golf cart discussion. So
Well, well, I'm just reading the packet.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
But yeah,
Just clarifying, not just saying.
commercial businesses have insurance agents and they send.
I totally agree. And so I'm just saying, if we write a policy, it is clear as stipulated, and yes, common sense would apply. If you are driving a vehicle inebriated, you are liable. However, common sense is not always a common virtue here or elsewhere. So as lawyers will stipulate, was it in writing? I just want to make sure if we're going to go down this road to write policy, that we are off the hook. That's it. Otherwise, great. I wish we could drive them down 24 until such time as they have a head on with one of those semis that can't make the S turn.
I'm more worried about my kid on a bike doing that though.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's get some direction for staff. How many people how many are in support of commercial? Raise your hand.
I changed my mind after Rob's comment.
Okay, and so not supporting commercial?
I'm
At this
my
time.
hand's halfway up. It depends on what we can write, but obviously right now, based on staff, I'd prefer if staff doesn't have bandwidth right now, we just revisit it later. When they do, which
So that's
easier.
easier. Wow. So, okay, so I think we beat this thing to death. So we'll move on and say, we'll get back to you.
Okay.
And so next we have the Minturn Road North Railroad Crossing discussion.
Yeah, I got contacted from a resident about 2 weeks ago about the North Railroad crossing, which, as you saw in the memo, not in great shape. And they said to me, well, what are the town's plans? And I was like, well, there are none. And then they were like, well, what can we do about that? And I was like, I will talk to the town engineer. So I talked to town engineer, Jeff Fidel. He went out there. He determined that really probably our best option would be to do what we did on the south end, which is, get the wood out of there, recover it with asphalt. But he gave you options 1 and 2. One of the things we need to do is we would need to go to the PUC, Public Utilities Commission, for approval to make some of those changes. I'm just reading over his memo to make sure I'm talking about the right thing here. And that could take about a year. But even any change, I think just basic repair and filling up a pothole, we could work through with just Union Pacific indirectly. But replacing the timber crossing probably be our best outcome, and it'd take about a year. So I figured we'd come to you, get direction. What do you want us to do? And we will do it. We could do nothing.
So the South Crossing, I'm going way back in history, so that's where Earl comes in. Did we actually talk to UP and do that, or did we just do it?
No, we talked with them. We got approval. And that's how we ended up with that asphalt sidewalk that was a way that we could kind of get through some of their concerns and make it happen.
Well, I'll quote Harold Bellum, since you brought my history up. When I was first got mayor and had met with him, he said, the thing you got to do is just keep the potholes filled. And I think that's what we ought to do here. Just fill the pothole and don't get involved with.
I'm in favor of option one also.
Okay.
I saw this in the packet, so I ran down there today and had a walk around. My question is, he doesn't really address, that's like the worst ending of the Eagle Valley Trail and connection. So when we have all these people coming into town on e-bikes all summer long, which is increasing and increasing, and they're guests of the town, they pop out at the bridge across there, and then it's pretty nice. And then right at the crossing, it's terrible on a bike. It's popping tires, it's that kind of stuff. So I'd be in favor of actually, if we could somehow connect the trail with a nice pavement to connect that 100 feet of trail so that people don't have to like jolt themselves on the bikes and go across. Like let it be bumpy for the cars. It's the only thing slowing them down over there right now. I almost got run over multiple times today. So that would be if he had any thoughts about how wide that crossing is the right of way, would it be the same problem as the one you just had to navigate over there with the extra asphalt for bikes?
They just did not want concrete there or a trail, or like they did not want it delineated on the plans in any way. That was a dead no. So the way we did it is like we just had some extra asphalt, and it wasn't even on the plans as sidewalk. It just was asphalt.
Yeah. So is there any way to do something similar in that area?
Well, I think that's what he's talking about if we get direction to do replace the timber crossing, is what he's talking about, is doing what we did at the south end.
So you could do a separated bike path in the style, like I don't know what the right of way situation is, just looking at 25 feet.
I think that he's talking about taking the wood out, putting down new asphalt, and that's kind of it. From probably to the width, maybe a little extra if they're okay with that. But like I said, similar to what we did at the south end.
I think it would be silly to go down there and do all this work without addressing that minor hole in the trail system as we sit here and talk with the RTAP group and everything.
I'm just telling you from their perspective on that one, that's a hard no. We can try again. But on the south end, it was like absolutely not.
So you think the only way to redo it over there is to have bike path and then
as part of just the asphalt? I mean, that's the compromise we reached on
paint. Can you accomplish it with paint?
They said no to that.
Jersey barrier?
No. I'm telling you, it was dead no. Like they didn't even, it was labeled on the plans. They said, take it off. We said, okay.
What about the right of way not in the crossing? I would just like to think that through a little bit. Like it's
you give us direction and we'll go and ask them just what we just
went talked to Kevin about it.
We just went through these conversations with the railroad, I don't know, last year or two. So we're just going off what that experience was.
Maybe this might be one to talk to Kevin Sharkey too. That would be I know I'm gone in a couple weeks, but that would be my recommendation is it seems silly to spend a bunch of money down there and not complete the one awesome tourist attraction we're about to get into town that's going to drive business.
Okay. I mean, I would have to imagine Eco Trails has thought that through and potentially had discussions with the railroad about that.
Jeff Aston went into that and then asked if there were conversations when Minturn North did that project about that point, and they said no, we didn't have those conversations.
Because it could be that it hits town limits right there, and Eco Trails just went, oh, this is no longer Eagle County. We're going to dead end it. And,
I don't think it's an eco trail. It's a railroad issue, and it's what they're going to say yes to. So if you want us to ask, like we'll ask.
So like, why did they end the trail where it is?
Because of the railroad.
So that's how far back the railroad crossing is. Like, but that's so far back from the railroad.
Yeah, you didn't care about anything.
We know
They've
that.
never had any flexibility about this stuff. One thing we could do is put up a sign before you get there, warning cyclists, and they can get off the bike and walk it across, so they can go slow across it from a safety standpoint. That's not a very good option, but I don't think talking to railroad's going to get us anywhere.
How about we say, let's go with the option, and then we will ask on like an actual trail, and then we'll come back and say, this is what we got.
Yeah, Kevin's had a lot of communication with their department on that kind of stuff, so he might have something to weigh in. I don't know. He's got a question.
Okay.
I mean, it's up to, any public comment?
Or, oh, who? Rob, come on.
Hello again, Rob, 560 Taylor Street. I just wanted to add that there's a group of Taylor Street parents, and we're working on getting the school bus to come down Minturn Road again. So, you know, we can fix that pothole again and again and again, but there's going to be, we know of 4 families coming into the Minturn North. Plus, we've got several existing families on Taylor Street. So, if we can get that road nice, there's a better chance of the school bus going down that road again. They stopped doing it because the dirt road got so bad. But now that Minturn Road's paved again, we're going to give it a shot. So my input would be like, hopefully we can rip out the timbers and make it nice like the south end, instead of just fixing potholes every single year. Make it easier on the snow plows as well. So thanks a lot.
Thank you, Rob. Okay, so what options do y'all want to support for direction?
Well, just to make sure we're on the same sheet of music in regards to the timber replacement, per the picture, it would be concrete panels at roughly $60,000, right? What I'm looking at. Versus the pothole.
Yeah, so it'd be a little different. I'm sorry about that.
And UP has already agreed to the timber replacement.
No, we haven't done anything. We just came to you to see what you wanted to.
$160,000. It's ludicrous. I think long term, since I drive over it every day, obviously we need to resolve it because UP is not gonna. So we can ask that question in regards to the timber replacement with that, if that's what we're looking at as opposed to asphalt, because asphalt is gonna end up looking a whole lot like the asphalt that they're now with a pothole that I curl up in and chill out for a while. It's quite large. The trail piece, we can ask the question, but arguably if that's what ends up being the product, I'm pretty certain the e-bikers will be just fine without further requirements. Not real thrilled with $60,000. Don't think anybody is right now.
It's
cheap.
We've just got.
I would say you're not committing to anything, but we just wanted to kind of get it moving and then we can come back to you as far as
Right.
really.
I mean, ask the question since obviously that hasn't been asked.
Got it.
Is it 2.5 years from now when UP gives you an answer?
We still have to come up with $2.5 million for the Bellin Bridge.
Yep. We got a lot.
We got a lot.
So that's why I say just ask the question and then the reality is.
Maybe investigate the cost scenarios and then make a phone call to the railroad and have them say no.
Well, here's the thing with these, like the replacement of the timber, we have to go to PUC. So that's kind of why we're like, hey, do you want us to deal with the railroad, do 1 or 2, or do you want us to go to PUC and get you a more permanent solution that's ready and lined up? I was trying to think of like, this may be a complaint that we may hear more. And I just want to be like, let's try to get the planning side of it moving for you. So then if you're like, hey, we need to do something, we're like, oh yeah, we're on the way.
Well, the fact of the matter is by this summer, that crossing is going to be not great because now that pothole and its friends have developed, they're just going to degrade further. So
maybe we just maybe we just look at both, honestly, of like short term and long term.
Okay.
Sorry to belabor it.
We'll
do that.
At least fix the pothole if we get a contractor to do Taylor.
Yeah, I mean, as long as Union Pacific is like go, then so I'll come back to you with that, and then we'll work on the long term.
Okay, we're gonna go to recess for 5 minutes. Cool. Discussion is going slow.
It's no real clear way to say that.
More time goes down to that.
Next is the Senator. Is being recorded.
Thank you. Senator Bennett's letter of support request for Brelamont Development Road considerations?
Is Delaney still on with us? I feel bad that she's endured this with us, but.
I am. Hi, guys.
Oh,
It's been a
hey,
fun ride
Delaney.
tonight. Hi,
How do
everyone.
you handle it?
Yeah, of course. Thank you all. I had the opportunity to meet with a couple of you guys at some of the Eagle County events in the past, but my name's Delaney Deskin. I'm Senator Bennett's Central Mountain Regional Representative. And I live, just the long hike away over in Eagle Vale. So sorry I couldn't be here. I had to attend a couple different appointments before coming online tonight, but I really appreciate you guys giving us the opportunity to speak. Our request is for a letter of support for some legislation that the senator is planning to introduce later this month. It's called the Forest Resources Accountability Act. And this is it's sort of the next phase of some of the amendments that you might all have seen in Vale Daily regarding construction of a year-round paved road between Eagle County roads and the Burlemont development up north of Edwards. We're reaching out to most of the towns in the valley to seek their support on this. Some of you may know, but the senator recently put forward an amendment in the government funding process, which was later unsuccessful to try to block development that way. But unfortunately, because that didn't go through, we're looking at standalone legislation, which is another way that we're trying to bring attention to this important matter. For us, we see this as critical, a critical way to protect U.S. forest staffing and resources at a time when we all know staff are extremely stretched in both money, time out of the day, as well as just how many folks they have working, both at the forest level as well as here at the district level. The first half of last year, the Forest Service lost nearly 6,000 employees. In Colorado alone, we lost 3 of our longest tenured forest supervisors, and many field offices in the state have seen double-digit personnel decreases. As a result, we know the Forest Service has only been able to complete about 40% of hazardous fuels mitigation projects compared to average years in the past. And in December, an internal Forest Service analysis also found the agency has not been able to maintain trails at the scale that they have been in the past. We think at a time when Forest Service personnel and funding and resources are already so stretched, prioritizing the construction of a year-round paved road is the wrong move at the wrong time. We're looking at what is likely going to be an extremely challenging fire year, and we need all hands on deck addressing that rather than sort of these sorts of projects that don't serve the majority of the tax-paying public whose tax dollars go into maintaining the White River National Forest and the forest system as a whole. Particularly, this bill prohibits the use of federal funds for issuing any permits to open, improve, authorize, permit, or construct a year-round road connecting to the Burlemont parcel. And it clarifies the definition of adequate access to that parcel as what is currently in place. It's an unpaved seasonal road. That was the road that was in place historically, and it provides adequate access as we know it. It is very similar in holdings in Eagle County, connecting private in holdings to the rest of the county. Additionally, this would, sorry, lost my train of thought. This bill comes after a couple different legal decisions. There has been lawsuits regarding this, the Burlemont in holding specifically. I know that's come up in the news recently. While the Forest Service approved a modified road alignment in 2023, citing an Alaska law that requires the Forest Service to provide adequate access to in-holdings to their properties, that term is currently unclear. We wanted to specifically say that adequate access is the road that's currently in use. This is in line with sort of the support that we've sought from other environmental groups and that we've successfully had on both the amendment as well as the standalone bill. Additionally, the town of Eagle provided us a letter of support as well as the Edwards Metropolitan District. We're looking at support in the past that we've received from the for the amendment include Representative Joe Neguse, Dan Gibbs, State Senator Dylan Roberts, State Representative Megan Lukens. We've had Mike Trueblood, Brian Woods, Eagle Summit Wilderness Alliance, Vail Valley Mountain Trails Alliance, and the Eagle River Coalition all express support for the amendment. So we're really excited for the community outpouring of support for this. And we would definitely love to have the town of Minturn join as well. If there's any questions, anything that we can help clarify, anything like that, we're always happy. I'm here to chat about those a little bit further and answer any questions that you guys have.
Okay. Does anybody have a question for Delaney on the Burlingmont Road?
Nope, in favor.
Okay,
I
so,
don't have one for Delaney, but are we gonna? I had a question for maybe staff.
okay, go ahead.
Hi Delaney, it's Brian. We helped put together the VVMTA
Yes. Yeah. Thanks.
letter of support. My only question coming from a town of Minturn is this impact, or could it ever in any weird future way impact our current listings out at the Highlands parcel? Because I'd imagine that if we sell those and if somebody wants to build out there, they'd need to build a road and might require some USFS, right? Because that's a dirt road right now. I'm just wondering, like, is there any way that then in the future someone could hold this up and say, like, listen, you guys were against a road accessing this, but now you're trying to sell a parcel and make money and have somebody build a road over here where it financially benefits you all? That's just a question.
I know the question's directed to staff, but I can answer part of that for you because we discussed this at the Eagle River Fire Prevention District. Because there was the one big concern is that there's a single access road, and it's the number, it's the size of the development that at least has the fire district particularly concerned. It's the number of people who, in case of a fire, would be using that particular road.
Yeah, I'm not asking about fire though. I'm more saying, like, just playing devil's advocate here because I'm obviously not in favor of this development or what's going on over there. I just want to, like, eliminate. I just don't want somebody in the future then to come back and be able to hold this in the town of Minturns to prevent us from doing something at the Highlands parcels. And if that's not a concern at all, then great.
I don't think there's any precedent involved here. Mike?
Well, I guess it really does argue, are we being asked to take a position that the law is called ANILCA, the Alaska, I don't know, something, that doesn't apply to lands such as the Highlands. And the Highlands is not technically landlocked, but the practical and historic access requires using Forest Service Tigawon Road to get there. And, you know, the Forest Service generally or historically has issued use permits for certain forest roads to access certain kinds of limited development. But you're right. It's if you know, and it's not just the Highlands, it's the OTP, which we have an option to obtain. And the OTP, really the only practical way to get there is on Tigawon Road. And if the Forest Service said, well, we're only willing to permit, you know, that for a very limited use as opposed to something robust that the town wanted, some level of consistency may be important in that situation. So it's a very good insight about whether the town should take a position that essentially says, you know, we're opposed to ANILCA being used as the basis to gain access to private lands that abut or are within Forest Service land holdings.
But I thought this is specific to the use of federal funds for year-round paved road, not an unpaved road.
Well, at some point, the lower part of Tigawan Road, depending on how much development is to occur on the OTP, would have to become a paved road.
I would say that, not knowing whether the Highlands would ever be developed and not knowing whether we can get well, that's going to be, also we have a discussion item here about some other options. But that said, the impact, I'm not worried about, because by the time we ever sell a Highlands property, if we do, is going to be long. It's going. I don't expect that to happen anytime soon, and I think we can go ahead and support what is a major impact.
You see Brian's point though. We support closing that down. We're, not letting them do it, but yet we're still kind of promoting it on our land to have a road pretty much the same as they're wanting to do to our land. It kind of.
I can chime in. I do want to note that the legislation defines adequate access to the Burlemont Estates. It doesn't have that discussion of what adequate access to all in holdings in all places looks like. So this is just, it's very fact specific here. That I think those concerns, and thank you guys for bringing them up, and I think it's certainly worthy of discussion. The text of the legislation itself is specific to the Burlemont Estates parcel.
And I think there's a lot of concern about the extent of the development in this particular wilderness area and the cost to everyone else in the county of providing fire protection in this particular area so far up the road. I see the Highlands is really different. The Highlands is yes, there's some federal road. There's a you're going through there's a forest road, but it's a very short section. It's not a long thing. I don't know how long the access road is in the development under discussion, but I think it's really long.
Yes, it is. How long is that road?
I think it's a different
6 miles, but
things altogether. And
so we're talking about a 6-mile paved road cutting through national.
With quite a few switchbacks. Yeah.
Well,
it's not a wilderness area technically, but it's 6 miles. It's quite a few. Yeah, a lot
Believe
of them.
me, I've trail around that area. I'm extremely familiar with the Burlemont parcel and that whole area. I, again, am against it. Put that on the record. The only question I had, devil's advocate, was does this prevent us in some way of anything that we might want to do out in the Highlands? And if that answer is no, then great. That was just my one question.
Sure, the answer is no. And Tigawan is a very short dirt road.
I mean, it's apples and oranges, what we're talking about. The impact of Burlemont Road is so much more to our wildlife than a gravel road, a very short gravel road going to that property if someone would actually buy it.
And you're going to have the reservoir right there, which is going to be, so that Tigawan Road is going to be used for the reservoir anyway. And it's not much further past the reservoir to the Highlands.
Cool. Okay, so, any further discussion? No. Do we have a motion to, approve the letter?
Some direction.
Yes. Well, it's direction, but yeah, this would be an endorsement.
Motion would be good.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. Where's the letter here? Just letter out.
Here.
Do we have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the Senator Bennett letter On behalf of the town council of Minturn, for opposition to proposal of the Burlington State Access Road project.
I second the motion.
Thank you. A motion by Tom, a second with Lynn. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right.
Thank you, Delaney. Thank you for everything you do for us. We appreciate it.
Thanks.
You guys, and looking forward, thank you for this and looking forward to keeping the discussion going on. Took up plenty of notes regarding water and utilities as well as CDS application. So please feel free to reach out and talk to us anytime about CDS process.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Have a good night.
Thanks. Bye.
All right. Next in line is exploring partnership opportunities with Eagle County School District for Malloy Park.
There was some discussion during the public hearing about just conversations and policy with the district outside of the process of the approval of the preliminary plat. And so we're returning to you for just formal direction of having staff start some engagement with the school district about how we can maybe address some of these policy issues to end up at an outcome that our community voice their perspective on. Any questions or concerns or specific details you'd like us to be aware of as we start this conversation, if that's what you'd like us to do?
I would just be in favor of that discussion.
Okay.
I'd be in favor of talking about the deed restricted portion of it. I don't think I'd be in favor of partnering with them and trying to do anything out there for, you know, our employee housing or anything, trying to get one of their units. I'm not in favor of that.
Okay.
Well, I think what we were talking about as far as the 100% deed restriction, going a little further in regards to the county housing authority to kind of put their feet to the fire in regards to coming up with more than one category or demographic for affordable housing. Since obviously Habitat is at this rung. So as we talked about, having school district revisit their AMI calculation as focused on their pool of employees that then would meet the requirement for deed restrictions and support from county housing authority. So we get 100% workforce housing out there, as opposed to if the first requirement is you got to be a school district employee, that take care of the problem of all the other machinations that go with the vetting of deed restrictions. It would probably streamline it considerably.
And I just
sorry, go ahead.
add to that, I think we should discuss with them increasing their flexibility about the term for their rentals.
Okay. The 5-year piece, I think, needs to be first on the agenda in regards to any policy discussion. Because again, as we delineated previously, while I understand the CFO's righteous intent of everybody gets a chance to live in these properties every 5 years, that's just not in touch with reality, and certainly not in touch with recruiting and retention. Because if they want to bring somebody in here, a teacher, and they know they're going to have to get out of that place in 5 years, okay, well, I'm going to plan to maybe possibly move elsewhere, because 5 years from now, I didn't want to consider what the cost of living is in this county, with the exception of the, I don't know, 1,000+ units Avon's essentially got planned over the next 10 or 12 years. But the bottom line is they need to apply their policy to the full spectrum of demographic.
And I would,
Yeah, like the root of the issue is we want 80 to whatever. We want a high percentage of occupied housing, but our code calls for 20%. So we're like kind of dependent on them just being good people, you know, kind of the same with some of the other developments in town. Belden, they went above and beyond the 20%. They didn't have to. So what I think need to do is urgently I know it's too late for that development, but like urgently update the code to require a higher percentage of resident occupied housing. And whether you do that, there's a million different types of deed restrictions. The Vale Indeed one has almost no conditions on it besides you have to have somebody living there full time. Like it doesn't matter who it is, whatever. So that kind of eliminates the second home issues and all that. And it kind of shrinks the market, right? So that the affordability sale comes down. But I think like yes, find as many partners as possible. Like that's awesome direction for this project because the ship kind of sailed on the 20%. They're going to meet that already. They're going to meet the code and chase down to try to get that as high as possible. But in the future, like I would say, we need to update that code ASAP so that when people bring us projects, they have higher amounts.
And I would also like to see them agree to some rent restrictions in terms of this shouldn't be a profit thing for the school district. The rents should be set with the idea of making them affordable and with school teachers or school employees having priority. And I think that after the school teachers, the town employees should have priority. I think that would make sense.
Am I right in interpreting though? It's the same as like Minturn North. Like they built their 20% 4 units according to our definitions of what needed to be affordable housing in our code. And we could have had a discussion with him. They're like, yeah, it'd be nice if you did this and that, but they're not required to.
Yeah, the only
That was before that they were in the system before we had those housing restrictions as far as 20% goes. In other words, it's already in the works, even though it wasn't Rick's deal.
So even more
Farms called
good
for it.
reason.
There was no regs when they started, so
And I
they
think
were doing that, those 6, smaller units. And they're less expensive. So that was, he was doing it. He didn't have to do it. Basically.
So that's like proof of the, proof that we need to like update those regs. I mean, we can't just sit here and like, our strategy should just be hope that they're going to be nice and do some of this stuff. Like it should be a requirement.
And I think that's another case, the agreement wasn't totally clear, but the 2011 agreement that we entered into with the school district, giving them the right to develop in this incredible fragile property. But the idea, the policy, I think, underlying all that is we wanted to help the school district provide housing for its employees. And I'm really concerned that some of that housing will not be for their employees and will be at market rates. And I don't think that really was the intent.
If they do that, then they're not going to get a free SFE on what they're building. If it goes to the market, will be the annexation.
I don't think we need to get into the minutia of the plat and those things. And just to kind of redirect us, we're not talking about a private developer. Okay. We're talking about a government agency. And so I don't think this is something we would do with a private developer. We wouldn't engage in this. It's just, we're talking about a government agency that's primary mission is education and is suffering from the same challenges that we are of providing housing for its employees. And I think that's kind of what we're looking for is direction on just cooperation with that agency and trying to understand what are some of the issues that they have. A lot of them probably come down to money, and exploring some solutions to kind of help get them in a direction that our community voice that they'd like to see.
That all sounds good.
Yeah.
Direction. Yeah.
Okay.
It is close as possible to 100%.
We will do
that.
Yeah.
Okay. Next we have the Regional Housing Authority update.
We had a meeting 2 weeks ago with Eric Heil, the town manager of Avon. Is it Kim Bell Williams or Kristen Bell Williams? Kim Bell Williams from Eagle County Housing, and Tori from the county who works on sustainability but does a lot on housing. And they brought us up to speed on where this conversation was. As you remember, we had somebody come present to us in the fall, kind of just looking at the issue of housing, but didn't really get into the specifics. Well, they provided us some of the specifics, and they were in your memo as far as what they are looking at this point. And what we're looking for as staff is what direction would you like to provide us as far as continued participation in these conversations, and maybe some of your initial preferences of what you think would work best for this community. if we do decide to participate, and then we can go back, communicate those things, and based on some of the feedback you give us, come back to you with other things, such as if we decide to participate in a hybrid type option where there would be we would pay a certain percentage to the housing authority for administration, serving deed restriction type things, and then the rest of the money would come back to the town, and it could direct those funds how it wants to address housing issues, and it wouldn't necessarily be dictated by a regional board that maybe we would have a seat on. So it's kind of, which option do you prefer? What details would you like us to find out? What information do you want to know? All that. And I don't generally like get into explaining my memos because, like, I assume you read them. But if you would rather me walk through memos, I can do that. I hate to do that if you've already read through it.
How they can get the school district to get 100% deed restriction more part of.
Well, and that's kind of why there's a relation here to the last one, because, you know, as many things do, they come down to money. Money is probably the issue. Maybe that's why the door is open to market rate. And I think, you know, here's a funding opportunity that could help bring money to the table to close that door.
Well, and I think based on the phasing, the 3-phase timeline that the school district has ponied up, it should be fairly simple to do on the front side.
And another thing here too is I think it's important, you know, to voice your opinion and provide feedback is, you know, these funding mechanisms. I mean, that would have to be a voter ask, and there's an impact on voters there and where you feel comfortable and what you think. And I think that's important. We get that feedback because we're going to take that back to the working group and say, look, this is kind of where there's some support. This is where it's like, no, that's not going to work. And that's important.
I mentioned it to you yesterday. I'm definitely not in favor of changing a mill levy, not in favor of a tax increase. I think we're getting hit so hard the way it is around here. I don't think it's fair that the people that live here, the taxpayers, is paying the burden to try to get affordable housing. I just think that with what rates people pay on their property taxes and, you know, utility bills and everything, it's a big ask to do that for this. So I don't think this would be as easy selling as the Core Transit was, because I think residents seen a benefit off the Core Transit, where residents that's living here right now probably isn't going to see the benefit off of this. It'll be somebody, you know, workforce housing. I still go back to, I still think a lot of this has to fall onto the employer. I strongly feel about that, just because being the Eagle River Water and Sanitation District and the way they did their housing development on their own and looked out for their employees to have housing. I just think that falls onto a lot of it onto employers and not onto a specific town like Minturn, especially as small as we are. And the other thing is we really can't do anything here until we get a water plant. You know, we got a water moratorium, so our hands are tied for at least a couple of years.
I support everything Gusty's saying, and you know, just looking at this chart, one of the striking at how tiny the revenue is for Minturn and Redcliffe. It's even way more so, but we're just in a completely different category than the communities around us that also have much more commercial stuff going on in their communities.
Have they looked at like real estate transfer taxes on transactions over $5 million or something, or anything like that? What was that?
Are you even doing with voter approval now, or
You can't do them because of Tabor.
But this would still require voter approval.
No, Douglas Bruce said you can't even vote on it. If you have one, you can keep it, you can reduce it, or you can shut it down, but you can't get a new one.
Like, what about like second home taxes and things like that? Have they
Not something that's a legal pathway at this point, and a recent bill was killed on that one.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think of like other ways to.
One thing I guess I would say to council is, you know, provide your perspective, and then certain things on the options, but also have an understanding too of this, it's something that we're a minor player in, as you can see by the numbers, but it's going to move. The question is like when and how do we interact with it, and how do we influence it to a way that is to our advantage. I guess, and I'm not trying to advocate for anything. I'm just, whatever you can give us to speak to your concerns and advocate for our town in this, I think is useful.
Yeah, and we've never adjusted our mill levy since I've been around, but it is expensive to live here, and we've got to think about our existing citizens. And so how can we, I would say we would go to the county and Avon, talk to Eric and just say, these are our concerns. And how do we address these when we have people that have been living in our town for a while, and we're already got a really high sales tax, although sales tax is probably the best way to do it, because it does, 50% of sales tax is what we would be paying, but it's also bad for our businesses as well, because 10% sales tax is kind of scary. The use tax we've only had it for a few years, and it's really giving us a lot of capabilities as far as our capital improvements and so forth. But the mill levy, to me, just kind of makes it difficult for us, and maybe we can sit down and talk with Eric and Matt, whoever's commissioner is dealing with it, and see if they can better fit Minturn into their.
Well, I think it's up to you to decide what's going to fit you, because ultimately you would send something to the voters and ask. And so, especially on a pass-through model, it's, if we go to them and say, how can you fit? They're going to be like, well, what do you want us to fit? What are you comfortable with? What's preferable? And you got to think about not only the taxation side of it, but also the programmatic side of it, of these dollars. And to Lynn's point, it is small because proportionally we're small. But things such as buy downs, if we were interested in doing that on a very small scale, additional employee housing, or even deed restricted housing or land banking of any kind, I mean, this would be a start to working on those things, whereas now we don't really have any dedicated revenue or something like that.
So if that's something we could change in our code to, like, new development coming down the road, have more of a percentage of deed restriction than what we actually currently have.
You could do that. One thing that's really important to understand about deed restriction is it requires a lot of work and a lot of money to administer. And many Colorado jurisdictions have really struggled with that. And so it may be easy to say, okay, yeah, like, let's do more deed restriction, but you need to make sure that somebody's watching property turnover, somebody's watching who's buying, somebody's making sure they're building eligibility. And so that's why why we'd want to work with somebody like this. Yeah, you want to make sure that the county, and I that's what I said to Kimball Williams, is like, you need to make sure that whatever you're planning, you have adequate funding to administer those kind of programs, because many of those, there's quite a few examples of those programs that haven't gone as hoped because of a lack of oversight.
What I think, we've learned in some of those programs, like the Vail and Deed program is a great example. When we were trying to buy a home, we were working through that problem, and we couldn't get banks to give us a loan because there was uncertainty around even just the owner occupied deed restriction, because they were a new type of deed restriction, not people who were familiar with it. And they had to pivot their strategy and start buying properties, putting deed restrictions on them and putting them back on the market, like in essence, just flipping stuff with their own cash in order to get these deed restrictions. We are in a place where if we could work with an agency like this that had some funding and some help, that instead of giving hard cash to fight the affordable housing problem that we don't have, we could make some changes to the code that would be minimum cost on our side, get some help from funded nonprofits or government agencies in the county level, and make a big impact without having to go buy stuff on our side. We could just change our code to require things, and it would have to go through, with their approval. That to me would be like the partnership idea, where we, work with somebody like that, or have a housing authority and say, listen, even though our voters may not approve of a ballot issue, tax increase, probably won't. We would still love to be a part of this if you know, talked in order to contribute to the greater problem. We just are a small town with no money. So like, what can we do?
Anybody else have anything?
I would just say with the pass-through hybrid model, you know, we can visit what the facts look like in the short and long term. Because the reality is, generally speaking, most of the development in this town is kind of already projected and or approved pending water moratorium issues. So some of this just won't apply or will on the backside. So it's just an idea of how we navigate those waters if this regional housing authority gets developed, because Avon is an entirely different animal based on sheer volume and tax base, obviously.
And you know, with the anticipated drought that's coming up, I think our water moratorium is likely to last longer than we originally anticipated. And I've also heard that Bolts Lake is probably being pushed down 5 years or so because of funding issues. So I just think water is we have a moratorium right now, and water is going to, even with our water treatment plant, water is going to be very, very scarce for this town.
Well, let's talk about housing, because this doesn't necessarily ponder it. If you enter into a program like this, it doesn't necessarily mean you're adding more units. You know, it also could be one of the things that the major concerns we hear from the community is a fear of change and a fear of losing people, especially working class people. And people seem to see that's a very important aspect to this town. And I think if that's a concern, we need to find a way to address that over the long term, and that's going to cost money. As far as feedback here, is there anything, and Gusty provided it, is there anything that's a hard no, or do you want us to kind of go down this path and give you an option that's more on the programmatic side? Or is, you know, even any sales tax increase, like you're just like, that's a hard no, we need to look at other things that you could provide us so we can kind of maybe start working with this and come back to you?
My 2 cents on it would just be the thing that bit us quite some time ago, which was a erroneous AMI calculation. So based on the policies and the programs that are being put forward here, with the expectation, as Gussie said, of really no money out of our pocket, just the programs that are there and the ways that we can facilitate some of these things, which would be the buy down, the deed restriction, or resale of properties as they come along, based on what we said earlier, which is, you know, these developments, we're going to be kind of tapped out anyways, as far as that's concerned. So really, any of the pitfalls that are out there that would negatively impact administering some of these programs, like the AMI calculation, as we talked about before, the things you brought up in regards to the onerous aspects of deed restriction and what that really means. So really more of an informational packet of, hey, as we move forward, as they do this regional housing authority, here are the programs right here, but oh, by the way, you've already delineated some of it. Here are some of the problems. Here's some ways we can get around this or mitigation, and we move forward from there.
Okay, that sounds good.
Definitely continue discussions with them.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think there's a bit of consensus about a lot of sensitivity on these fiscal impacts, that those are going to be hard for us.
If we're looking at a water loan, that's everything else is going to be DOA on it's going to be DOA for a while until that sore wears off or is mitigated by other funds coming in.
Gotcha. Okay.
Now I lean toward the hybrid model for sure.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right. Thank you.
Legislation.
Any comments on legislation? There's a lot of interesting things here, as there usually is. I don't have any major concerns about.
Honestly, I think Colorado Municipal League does a really good job of monitoring these and keeping up to speed with it. So I kind of value what they come up with, you know, if they're approved, you know, recommendation for approval or denial on it.
Yeah. If there was something that was like inconsistent with the perspective we had, or there's something that would be a big concern for us, then I would maybe highlight that a little bit for you of, hey, this one's a little, but yeah.
Program pre-application.
Yeah, we on the staff end been kind of looking at some alternative options for providing funding for an acquisition of the Highlands. I just want to make sure that we're out there doing the research, lining up options so that you have them when you need them. This is an interesting one that our grant writing team sent to me weeks back, and Lynn Teach, we were just having a kind of informal conversation, and she kind of asked me some questions, and I was like, oh yeah, there was something. And so she kind of got this ball moving a little bit, and I really appreciate that. The Highlands track meets most of the eligibility requirements for this program, and there's a lot that I think that could be discovered, including a reappraisal aimed at conservation that the state would be willing to pay 75% of. And some other things that could be learned that could be useful. So we're just looking for some direction, if you're okay with us starting the pre-application portion of it and doing some fact finding.
Yeah, I think we're all in favor of that.
That's fantastic. Thank you. All right.
Yes, you were. Okay, so we're down to future agenda items. Does anyone have anything new they want to put on the list?
I guess the only question would be second reading for the finance for the WTP. When do we envision?
The 15th,
Yeah, that was a month out.
April 15th. That gives us 30 days notice, public
Sorry,
notice.
water breaking on. My apologies.
Oh,
No earlier than?
Huh?
No earlier than, correct?
no. So correct.
All right, good. With that, we have only one thing left.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Push by Tom, second by Eric, all in favor? Aye.